King Thidrek broke camp and moved his whole army on into Rusiland. He harried the land, and wherever he came, he killed many men and broke many castles and cities, and did much damage. He now came to the town called Smaland, and there he engaged the townsmen in many battles. And when he had been there 6 days, King Valdimar came along with the army of the Rus, and he had no fewer than 40,000. King Thidrek had his horns blown, and bade the Amlungs and the Huns arm themselves and mount up to ride against King Valdimar. He said that King Valdimar would either die that day or flee. And the third possibility was that King Thidrek himself would fall with all of his army. King Thidrek rode in the first rank, and along with him were his kinsman Ulfrad, Master Hildebrand, and his good friend Wildifair. A fierce battle took place, and it lasted a long time. King Thidrek had now ridden into the middle of the Rus army, and he struck both sides at men and horses, and they fell one on top of the other. His champions followed him very bravely, and each of them felled many men, and all of the Amlungs were happy, and fought the whole day with great pride. King Thidrek fought in the army like a lion in a flock of sheep, and everyone feared his weapons. He and his horse were both covered in blood. And he now found before him the standard and the personal troop of King Valdimar himself. And he rode boldly forward and struck with one blow the knight who was carrying the standard on the right hand, and the blow took off the arm and the mail sleeve, so that the standard fell to the ground, and with this he had also struck King Valdimar himself his death blow. A great cry went up then from the Amlungs and the Huns, and they urged each other forward, and 100 Rus fell. And now the Rus took flight, and they were mown down like hay when they were caught. The Amlungs and the Huns fought on the whole day, and that night, and the next day, and they killed every man they found, and only a small number managed to escape. The third day, after King Thidrek had ridden away, King Attila made such a strong assault on the city with catapults and crossbows that they won the city. On that day, the Huns went up into the town with all of their army and killed many men and took large amounts of money. And then they leveled the town almost to the ground. And this was carried out so well that one can still see it if one comes to the same place. After this, King Attila took his army further into Rusiland to ask after King Thidrek. King Thidrek had now turned his back to Smolensk, and King Attila came then with his army, and King Thidrek told King Attila all of his news of what had taken place on his expedition since they had parted. Earl Iron the brother of King Valdimar, was in this city. He counseled with his men. It seems that we have now two choices on our hands. The one choice is to engage in battle with King Attila as long as we can. It is to be expected that we would not be able to withstand his superior forces, and we would lose. The other choice is that we give ourselves up into the power of King Attila. He took off his shoes and took off all of his armor, and all of the chieftains of the Rus did the same, and they went barefoot and without weapons out of the castle, and showed in this way that they were defeated. And on this day, the honor and power of the king of the Rus was given up to King Attila. And King Attila counseled with King Thidrek whether they should give truce to this earl. "It seems a good choice," said Thidrek. "If you would grant truce to this earl and his men. In any case, he will come into your power, and all of the kingdom of the Rus will be subject to you. It would be honorable and valorous not to kill him, because he has no weapons to defend himself, and all of the kingdom of the Rus will belong to you." King Attila spoke to the earl. "If you wish to serve us with fealty, then you shall solemnly swear that to us, and then we shall grant you truce, along with all of your men who have come into my power. This is done according to the advice of King Thidrek and other of our chieftains." And Earl Iron answered in this fashion: "Lord King Attila, if we had a force large enough to oppose the Hun army, then we would not be in your power. For this reason, you can do with us what you will. Because of this, we lay down our weapons, open up our city, and go before you with bare feet, and stand before your knees, since we know you to be good warriors and great men, which has now been clearly shown. In addition, all of the greatest chieftains of the Rus are now dead, and we shall certainly carry out with fidelity that which you bid and offer you obedience." King Attila lifted Earl Iron up and set him with his chieftains. King Attila called now King Thidrek and many other chieftains to a great council, and they discussed who should rule over the kingdom they had won there. Upon the advice of King Thidrek and other chieftains, King Attila made Earl Iron chieftain in Rusiland to rule the kingdom, to judge the law of the land, and to pay tribute to King Attila, and also offer him whatever support he might need. And now you know how the weavers of fate have decided, and you're fully aware of the fact that the Amlungs and the Hun army, hand in hand and side by side, had defeated the Rus army, and King Valdimar was dead. So tune in again for the 60th episode of the Thidrekssaga. Back here, next time, in the Hall of Sagenheim. And leave a thumbs up and a comment if you like.